Hello and welcome to Huge Fans. It's Catherine.
And Liz.
And Ed.
And John.
So we are doing A Christmas Story. Oh, such a favorite of the whole family.
Yes.
Yep. Pretty much watching it every year.
I mean, I don't think this is a controversial opinion to be a huge fan of A Christmas Story.
You can't miss it this time of year. I mean, I think it does play for 24 hours starting on Christmas Eve. Mm-hmm. But you can pretty much watch it anytime. It's on HBO Max, I think.
Yes.
I mean, I would call it a TNT Modern Classic, but it has shockingly made the transition to TCM.
TCM,
Whoa,
really?
classic.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I mean, I accept that. My memory of watching this way back in the day wasn't a broadcast version of it. It was a VHS tape that, you bought for like $50.
What? Really? Do we have one at Grandma's house? At Mom's house?
I'm pretty sure we do.
I thought we just caught it on, cable.
Well, we might have recorded it too.
On what, a VHS tape?
On like Channel Z on VHS or something like that.
What?
I'll go look and see if we have it.
That's
but
hilarious.
It does strike me as like I can almost see Dad's handwriting A Christmas Story from some time that he would have recorded it.
Oh, wow. I do feel like it's a more recent development that it's the 24-hour loop. Like within the last 5, maybe even 10 years, I would say.
No way. It is. I don't know when it became the 24-hour loop, but at Christmas time, in 1983 when it was released, I don't know that it was a hit. I mean, it's become a cult favorite now.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
It kind of went under the radar a bit.
It was like I just watched an interview with the director, Bob Clark, who said it wasn't a huge hit in the theater, but it came out at the exact right time that people were starting to get on board with VHS. So it hit the theater at the right time, then people couldn't get it. So then the next year when it was suddenly available to rent, big boom that next year. It took like 2 years for it to be completely in everybody's zeitgeist.
Not exactly, but very similar to another one of our Huge Fans episodes. That's sort of the story of A Princess Bride, where it wasn't a big deal when it first came out. And then
VHS really changed the game.
Hit the window at the exact right time. Okay, so we don't have visuals, but right now we are sitting at a table and Ed has a shirt on that says, "I triple dog dare you," which is amazing. And then brought in a bunch of what are these? So
they're obviously Christmas ornaments.
I was going to say souvenirs. That's not really the right
From the movie.
Yeah.
Although one of them
trinkets.
is a shot glass that I have not used. It's a see-through version of the lamp, the leg lamp.
Oh, I see it. That's a shot glass?
That's a shot glass.
Okay,
yeah.
that is hysterical.
Fragile.
Now, part of the reason that you get a lot of stuff gifted to you about A Christmas Story is because you do look like Peter Billingsley.
And that's the gimmick is like at that time in 83, he's like 13 playing a 9-year-old.
That is crazy
also
too, yeah.
young, but at the exact same time, I have pretty close to the same glasses, blonde hair, and like kind of a dopey look on my face all the time
And
with
bright
my crossed
blue
eyes.
eyes, yeah.
And bright
Wait,
blue eyes.
yeah,
So I'm like a doppelganger.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, so people have nailed
And
it.
you had an annoying younger brother.
It's true.
No, sorry, John.
It's true.
Very true.
Although we didn't have the Bumpus Hounds next door, so
Thank God.
mild
We
disappointment.
did? What are you talking about? It was scary to do the trash cans.
I was actually going to say there was a huge Great Dane that lived next door to us, and because that was a rickety old wooden fence between our two
Oh,
houses.
yeah, it was scary.
That when you were tiptoeing with the bag in the dark to get to the very loud old clankety metal trash can, God forbid something shifted in that bag and glass hit something. I mean, he would reverberate against that old wooden gate.
Like you think it was going to fall down, for sure.
Oh, your heart. You would then run to the trash can, shove it in there. I mean, running for your life. It was not a nice dog. I think it actually attacked someone in the neighborhood.
Oh,
too.
geez.
Bumpus
Bumpus
dogs were just a nuisance. This dog was a menace.
Ooh.
So we did have worse than the Bumpus dogs.
Well, it never came and stole a turkey, so that was good.
That's true. That's true.
No.
So I am currently wearing one of 2 of the shirts that I own, and
Nice.
there is a photo that may have to go up with this episode of John and I both wearing a "You'll Shoot Your Eye Out" Christmas shirt.
Oh, amazing.
Well, it's sort of an unofficial tradition.
Kind of, yeah.
Sometimes we'll do it like, I think we've done it when we're putting up the Christmas lights, on the solid, like 22nd, 23rd. But then by even saying this out loud, it's slightly less unofficial, but it remains unofficial. It might be on Christmas Day that we both are wearing.
Yeah, the picture that I am thinking of is a Christmas morning picture of the two of you in the shirt. At least I think it's Christmas morning.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it's the equivalent of John and I opting into, well, our aunt got us these shirts, so of course we got to wear them now on Christmas morning, like the pink bunny outfit. And one last thing that I brought to the podcast is my favorite homage gift that I've ever gotten, which is a 1.5 foot tall replica of the leg lamp, and it does light up.
Oh,
The
wow.
award.
Okay.
It is very nice. I must say.
It's really cool looking.
The special award.
It's sitting in the middle of the table right now.
It's a major award.
Yeah, we had to move
Major
it.
award.
Yeah. We had to move it because the lampshade was right in between Ed and Liz. So Ed was like, wait, where'd Liz go? Oh, she's behind the lampshade. Okay. But yeah, it is very funny. It is sitting on the table right now. Okay. So, Liz, what would you like to do? Do we want to go?
Well, I think, for all of us, none of us saw it in the movie theaters.
Correct.
So
True.
really our first experience either was on this VHS or, possibly seen on the Z channel.
Z channel or HBO or
Right.
something.
And because we had older siblings, I feel like it might have been on their radar, and that is why we saw, we're able to sneak in or try to catch a couple
maybe.
scenes.
I
Because this
think
was not a mom and dad thing. Dad, initially, this was not his, the Christmas Story, it's so funny. It was not on his radar until we watched it at home.
I think that's true for sure.
Which is ironic because probably like a lot of people, for some bizarre reason, the dad in the movie reminds us a lot of our own father.
Yeah.
Listen,
for
I
sure.
don't have any real lore on this. I'm fantasizing that Dad wasn't into it because him and Darren Mcgavin at some point went out for the same role multiple times, and he totally reminds me of Dad in that movie.
Yes,
The hairstyle, the
Sweater.
the physicality, the look of him. Man, Dad probably wasn't into that movie because that guy's taking so much work. He's taking food out of your mouths, people.
He was a more successful version of Dad. Is that what you're,
he's
as an
essentially
actor?
a working man's actor. He also directed, and he was in theater, and he did a lot. I watched a couple interviews of him. I'm like, oh, suddenly I'm impressed. I'm gonna have to look him up, Mr. Gavin.
Yeah.
Although one of his interview moments was, yes, me and my wife, we have friends over, we have a nice dinner, but we're not really into Christmas.
Oh my
Unfortunately.
God, that is so funny.
Horrifying to find out that dad is like, that's not his jam, because of the character. Gene Shepard's dad's character really is. That's what he wants to do. He wants to have Christmas time.
Oh my God, funny. Well, I think one of the elements of that dad character that is very reminiscent of our dad was the trying to fix things, and that felt very dad.
Very, how do you put this? In some ways, half-assed. So it was inevitably going to go wrong. You're like, even as a kid, you would kind of know, this is probably not going to work, or it's going to be just a Band-Aid on a huge problem. But
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So
this is the OG DIY
Yes.
days. Not like you actually are going to get something done that looks nice. No, this is it's sealed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's when a duct tape fix was looked down upon.
Yes, exactly.
So let's give a little background history of the Christmas Story. If you have not watched it, there may be some spoiler alerts, but it will not take away from the charm of it at all. There
Agree.
is something about it that, it is one of those movies that I probably watched scenes from, much less the entire thing, more times than I can count.
Sure. And it's never old. It
No.
doesn't matter that you know it. Yeah.
Here's how it really resonates. Because when we were younger, you really looked at it from the kid's point of view. Oh, I understand Ralphie. The excitement of Christmas morning, wanting the special gift, the drag of the parents, God, these parents are being pains in the asses. Now, as parents and older people, you can completely relate to the parents' point of view. So it's universal because it shows a perspective of both sides of the experience of Christmas.
Yeah.
So the
That
kids and the parents.
And I think also the nostalgic quality of that you have that voiceover where he's talking about his experience as a kid, but now as an adult, and
Looking back.
It's the only movie I can think of that has the author of the source material, the co-writer of the actual script, and the character that is the movie doing the narration.
Yeah.
And he is amazing.
Yeah.
Gene Shepard actually has a cameo in the movie, which we don't need to jump ahead. And there's another cameo, which most people don't know about.
Yeah. Mhm.
But he was amazing. And what he brought to that, and I found out either him or the director, Bob, would actually do the narration on the side of the camera for Ralphie to actually get his performance. So part of it is there's some magic that happened between Bob Clark finding this, seeking out Gene Shepard to make a movie, and then it taking like a decade to get done because no one believed in it, then both of them having all of the work that they put in on it beforehand all just line up. It's almost magical. It's a Christmas miracle even.
Yeah, it's a Christmas miracle.
Yeah, well, it is, because the actual source material is from 1966 from the writer Gene Shepard. And he was a humorist, a writer. He also did voice work, so that's kind of why his voice was amazing.
Oh, that's why he's so good.
He's really kind of a radio personality.
Yeah,
and that's why that
really?
voice is so good.
It
I
really
did not know
resonated.
that.
So it's based on sort of his own childhood experiences. And I mean, he was a prolific writer. But yes, like I said, Bob Clark, the director, found the source material.
And it was short stories, right? So
Right.
it was
Actually,
a book, but a collection of short
I
stories,
heard
really.
him tell a story that he was driving home, heard Gene on the radio telling this story, and like, well, I'll just drive around the block and finish. And 45 minutes
Oh my
later,
gosh.
he pulled in because it took him about 45 minutes to describe the tongue getting stuck to the pole.
Oh my God.
But he's like, I got to find this guy. And then started the seeking him out and trying to figure out how to license it and all that. Yeah.
Wow,
mean-
that's cool.
Of all the crazy names for Gene Shepard's work that are associated with this, the story that he's talking about that he heard on the radio, the director, was Flick's Tongue, which
Is a crazy name.
that name makes sense. The other story that's based on is Duel in the Snow, or Red Ryder Nails the Cleveland Street Kid. Which
Wow, okay.
That name makes a ton of sense, right? And then the short story collection was In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash. So
None of those names really, yeah.
Flick's Tongue works.
Yeah.
I like Flick's Tongue.
And interestingly, if you ever have a chance to go read that short story collection, you'll find that there is a Flash Gordon reference. And there are Flash Gordon's moments in the movie where you can see the, in the background or something like that. And they entirely cut a whole extra scene out. And there's a bonus other scene of a Santa Claus scene that they cut out. And I heard an interview where they're like, we would really love to release that on the 20th anniversary DVD. And it's gone.
Oh, no.
Bob, what? It's gone? Oh, no.
Oh, Bob.
So the Flash Gordon reference you're talking about is within the movie, there's all these dream sequences. And one of the dream sequences was this Flash Gordon thing. They shot it and then they decided it doesn't
test
really
audience.
work. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, based in Cleveland, kind of, and like I said, it's reminiscing Gene Shepard's childhood. So it takes place in December of 1940.
1940.
And it's sort of the vignettes and the narration of adult Ralphie looking back, which I don't think I knew until a few years ago that Gene Shepard was also the narrator. But now with Wikipedia and Google and all these things, I think I was watching it and I finally went like, who is the narrator? What? So really, really, really cool. And they actually placed, even though it's not based in Cleveland, it was Indiana. Homan? I think
Yeah.
it's in
Homan, Indiana.
Homan, Indiana.
Although
Which
shot
is
in Cleveland.
Also a
Right,
made-up
John
city in Indiana, but it's based off of a street from Gene's hometown, Homan
Oh.
Avenue or something
Oh,
like
all
that. I'm
right.
like, whatever, Internet. I don't need that much information.
Right, exactly. Well, and interesting enough, if you go to Cleveland, they've restored the house and basically decked it out like the movie. And I think it's probably a historical landmark now. You can visit it.
Cool.
So they've embraced it. But Bob Clark was a Canadian director. So it also was filmed, I think, some parts of it in Canada as well. And, so your 1940s Christmas. So it's just, even that era, I don't think I knew a lot about, because their fashion was almost like, you couldn't even really
Put a finger on when,
it wasn't
yeah.
so distinct. You're like, it's the 1920s roaring. It's the it's like it's 1970s disco. You're like, I don't really know what they're wearing. They're just sort of like drab.
I think the only
General.
clue, the clue for me was more like the radio stuff. And
Oh, for
also,
sure, yeah.
this is a little theme that kind of peppered throughout, that Wizard of Oz is in there. So you're like, oh, okay. So it's past Wizard of Oz coming out, which is like the 30s, like 32, I want to say.
And past Snow White.
And yeah, so there's a couple of things where you're like, I'm not sure exactly when, but there's some clues.
Now, some of us may be a little long in the tooth, so we're not writing Christmas lists to Santa. But really, the whole premise of the movie is Ralphie wanting a particular gift for Christmas, and the ways that he has a lot of thought process about it, a lot of dreaming about it.
Yeah, and also like plans and schemes of how to
contriving.
get it. how to like plant the seed to get it, I guess. Yeah.
I feel like Ed, you'd know exactly what
A Red Ryder BB gun.
Yeah.
Compass in the stock and a thing which tells time.
I like the thing which tells time.
thing that tells time.
And this thing which tells time. Well, what is it? Is it a clock? No, it's not a clock, but it tells time.
And we all understand that. That takes you back to being a kid. I talked about it on another episode how I so thought, like Ralphie, I had angled into the Barbie world.
Oh yeah, you wanted the Barbie.
Still was wrong,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
but
the Barbie like head bust to learn how to do hair and makeup
because we weren't allowed real Barbies. So Ralphie's really the whole movie is about him trying to get what he thinks is going to be this magical Christmas gift.
Well, and it's also not just that being the main plot. There's an additional layer in this narration that is the conspiracy of adults. How are all of them getting the exact same message of you'll shoot your eye out without ever talking to each other? From a kid's perspective, everyone is against you and you're fighting this fight. But ultimately, you get this sense that he isn't really fighting the fight by himself and his dad is truly on his side, but kind of has to be an adult. So you don't really get in on what the dad's doing through the whole movie because you're getting it from the kid's adult perspective. Not like if you're watching the movie plot, you'd have plenty of scenes with the parents where they're talking to each other about stuff. You mostly don't get that because it's really from him as an adult looking back, which is why all these visual elements in the movie make so much sense, like dream sequence stuff or fantasizing stuff where like he's looking back and yeah, you just tell that story. I don't know. I got in trouble in class because I was quiet for 5 minutes.
It's also funny to think about. It is so the kid's perspective because I don't even know what the dad did for a job.
Nope.
Like what? I guess like
He just drove to work.
Yeah, he just
came
worked
home.
and came home and then did something with the furnace. I don't know. And you know, it's interesting because it really is very, you know, blinders on that kids have, which is this is my experience, and it's true to that as an adult looking back, being like, no, this is just what I remember of my experience. I don't know what my parents were up to, and I certainly didn't clue in that my dad realized that I wanted this gun. It just magically appeared on
Right.
Christmas. Yeah.
I mean, in the ways he tried, you know, he asked Santa. And
Sure.
Pretty
well,
much
and he put the thing in
at
the
Higbee's.
He
at
put an
Higbee's.
advertisement in the Life
That's what I was
magazine.
going to say. When you like planted the advertisement in the Mom's Look magazine, he's like, I'm
Yeah.
so brilliant. It's like, oh my God, that's so funny.
And then he gets the perfect opportunity at school to write a theme. Man, I did not have that terminology locked
Yeah, I
in at
had
the day.
never
was
heard
like,
of a
"What?
theme." No.
A theme? Okay, that makes sense. I get it. Write a couple sentences on a theme. What I want for Christmas.
Yeah.
And the fantasies start from there, where he starts to like have a moment where he's like Black Bart and fighting the bad guy and
Sure.
the most sparkly cowboy outfit you've ever seen. Like what a 9-year-old would imagine a really good cowboy.
Well, a hero cowboy.
A hero cowboy
Yeah.
with a white hat. So good. And then that some of those elements, the way they were filming, because the budget was so small, and also because where they were filming, they had to figure out some weather issues. It wasn't a particularly cold winter, so they didn't have as much snow as they needed where they needed it.
Yeah, so they made snow, right?
Right.
I saw something that said it was made out of like detergent and like snow, you know, however you make snow
But then
at like
for
whatever.
like the
at
Christmas
ski
morning,
resorts,
I heard that they actually brought in snow machines from a mountain, 50 miles away or something like that, and like covered the neighborhood overnight. The night before they needed to film that scene, had to like clear it with all the neighbors. Then all the neighbors like got snow too. They didn't get any snow that year.
The magical Christmas morning, the white Christmas morning. I watched a little interview that said that they sprayed the trees so that it would freeze overnight.
But then they also had to do snow over everything
sure.
as well.
Yeah, well, they had to create a winter wonderland because part of it also was the pressure that you thought or you felt that the dad had to kind of make Christmas great. So you have some amazing scenes where, I mean, going to get the Christmas tree.
That is a hilarious scene.
And it really harkens back to our own childhood where going to the Christmas tree lot, finding the Christmas tree, but then getting home and being like, wait, did it look like this at the lot? Like, what happened to half of it? Are the needles brown? Like, kind of like when you got home and you're like, this cannot be the same tree we picked
Are
out
there
there.
green lights at that place? I don't know what we're looking at.
Well, also like the precariousness of putting the thing on the top of the tree was so nailed because that still happens today. You're like, God, I don't know if that is a good idea trying to get all the way up there to put the star or the angel or like,
And
oh
we
God.
were very, until almost us as kids took over it, we had multiple catastrophes with the Christmas tree. Cats jumping into it, knocking it down, not checking the lights before we strung up the entire Christmas tree and then plugged it in. The lights didn't work. So then like every light bulb you're trying to test. I mean, just like what a nightmare.
It was funny because I just did a rewatch because of, recording this podcast. And there was one little moment where they're talking about the strings of lights. And I didn't realize what they were saying was that like each string, each color had a different string. So it's like there's a red string, there's a blue string, there's a green string. And there's this funny little moment where she's like, the green string is out. And he's like, no, it's the blue string. Are you colorblind? And then it is. She's right. He's wrong. It is.
He fully is holding a blue bulb or a blue
and
green
he's like,
bulb.
see, I told you it was the green.
And he's like, told you.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Still to this day, it haunts me. Like, why does he lick the end, like get it wet, and then plug it? I'm like, why? You almost electrocuted yourself to death.
Completely.
There's so many little choices he makes.
Well, but I think that is some of those things that are slightly more time sensitive that, are harder to relate to for, kids now because they're like, what? You did what with electricity? Or you have how many things plugged in?
Oh, yeah.
There are 25 things.
What is a
plugged into that
fuse?
socket.
What are you even talking about?
Where's the power strip? Yeah,
The fuse is out.
Don't move. Nobody move.
Nobody move a finger.
A finger.
You wait for the whole house to just catch on fire with that.
I mean,
the plugs, like looking at things, the way he's looking around, like, am I unplugging?
The lamp, the radio.
Oh,
well, there's just too many. Yoink. Nothing turned off. Nothing turned off.
Nothing important.
All right.
Oh, yeah. But just, he gets that Christmas tree off. I mean, it looks. But that's the thing about Christmas tree. You get everything on there. And then it looks pretty good. You're like,
It's
all
funny
right.
because I noticed this time around, wow, there's a lot of that tinsel on that tree.
But we did tinsel as kids.
What a disaster tinsel
I think you can
is.
still buy tinsel.
No.
Well,
Really?
maybe not this year.
What? As if the world has put a ban on tinsel? What's your
I
problem?
don't know. It feels like not a good idea, but sure.
Plant-based tinsel, please.
Biodegradable tinsel.
It seems like a great filler for
Yes.
a barren tree. So yeah.
Well,
That's
it
why
adds
I
a lot
think
of
we went
sparkle.
through a lot of boxes as kids, John. One whole corner with just a big bomb of tinsel.
Didn't we have like extra branches of like fake branches that we would sometimes like attach in there, like almost
think
like
so.
fake pine with like wire on the end that you could like, if there was a bald spot, you just put the. I am
But
not
how did
making
we
this
not?
up.
I know, but
I don't know.
I think you're correct. And I'm like,
We
but
need
how
to-
did we not see
need to-
that ball
If that
spot?
doesn't already exist, we need to make the pipe cleaner additional branch for like set for your tree. Medium branch, short branch, heavy ornament branch.
And I also just love that, this is a few weeks before Christmas when you start the movie. So he is in school with his friends.
Right.
Being Southern California kids, listen, it's been 70 degrees on some Christmases, okay? So we don't have the
70, sometimes 80.
Yeah,
I mean,
the bundling up and going to school with snow and all that element. That was fascinating to me. I'm like, so you have Randy in this really stiff, like snowsuit. I can't put my arms down.
I can't put my arms down. I mean, it is comical. That whole and
You
wrapping,
can put your arms down when you get to school.
Yeah, the mom wrapping the scarf around his like face. You're
Yes.
like, God. I mean,
now,
yeah,
a little
I guess
shout
it is
out
cold. So
to Melinda Dillon, who played the mom.
oh, she was spectacular.
She really was good. But that was another one. Like her styling, even her hair, she almost looked even somewhat contemporary.
Yeah, see, actually, she kind of feels out of time to me.
Right.
Whereas the dad feels like, are you transported? You are acting in the 40s.
He's
and
very
now this
authentic
movie's in the
feeling.
80s. But she feels a little
She feels
more-
a little 70s to me, which makes sense because it's only 83.
Well, she has the wavy hair.
But it still works perfect.
Yeah.
But she just feels slightly less.
Okay, I'm going to point out the one super out of time thing that I just cannot handle. It's Scott Farkas has braces, and they're stick-on braces, which is not 1940s. There's no way that there was a
Here's
that was like a development.
The thing.
Yeah.
You were not. There
Supposed
wasn't
to
a
notice?
very large expectation of people going to the theater and see this,
Or
and
thinking
then they
that this was
didn't.
going to be like
But
super
then
authentic.
Everything that you
Well-
saw after that was on TV on VHS, so it's kind of obscured until suddenly you're watching in HD and you're like, "Are those glued on? Come on!"
Well,
100%.
HD, you don't even need HD. There is like a scene where they
Big close-up, yeah.
right into his teeth, so they're hard to miss at. Like
You're
his-
not supposed to be looking at that. You're supposed to be looking at his eyes, his yellow eyes.
I mean, his jaundice. I mean, check his liver. So, I mean, and that, even a bully, because we had a bully growing up in our neighborhood, Chuck. I don't know your last name, so I'm just going to say it.
I don't remember this. What?
I remember Chuck. I think
don't
Rosie
know.
would. Maybe he didn't bother you, but he was one of those kids, if you were out on a bike ride or went on a walk, maybe back around school, He threw rocks at Rosie and I and a friend one time.
Chuck, you jerk.
Oh, yeah.
He was just living up to his name.
Chuck. You're so dumb. Okay.
I mean, survive Chuck, because at one point, I think there was a stand-up moment. There wasn't a full Ralphie beatdown, but there was a stand-up
Oh,
moment.
poor Ralphie. That scene is actually so upsetting.
Heartbreaking.
I know.
Because it's torture to be, bullied by somebody and then eventually to have to stand up to them. You typically don't want to engage in that either. And that's kind of what happened.
Yeah.
So, Ralphie with his glasses throughout, that's a big thing too, because, you're going to shoot your eye out and ruin your glasses. Mm-hmm. But the brother dynamic and him, like I said, walking to school, ditching his brother with his two best friends, who really, we brought up one of them because Flick. Mm-hmm. So he has two best friends who are sort of his cohorts, which Flick and,
Schwartz.
So Flick and Schwartz. God, that's a good name of a bar. Flick and Schwartz. So Schwartz and Flick. What great little actors for kids.
A different Huge Fans episode, but Schwartz and Flick sounds like a store from Harry Potter.
It does, kind of.
A wand store.
Yes.
Schwartz and Flick.
Flick. But they were
Okay,
such
I just
good
got
actors.
hold on. I just got so confused. So the guy who plays Flick, is his name Scott Schwartz?
Yeah.
And the other character is named Schwartz.
Schwartz.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Played by R.D. Robb. Okay, so I wonder how confusing that was on set. Like, just using the name Schwartz, or were they calling them by their first names, I hope, instead of the character names? Anyway, that was very funny, because I was like, wait, it is Flick and Schwartz, isn't it? Is this a typo? How did I not notice that before?
Now, going back to I triple dog dare you, it's really one of the most iconic scenes where
It's well built, too. Like, you really are invested in
and
the
once
build-up.
again, being in warm Southern California, we're like, is that a thing where you could stick your tongue to a metal pole in winter and it would stick? And the answer is yes.
Well, the answer is yes. And it's funny because they pre-establish as they're walking to school, my dad says it will totally work. So you even have
I will
foreshadowing.
say it's the early origin for Jackass. Because it is
Oh my God.
It's such a dumb kid thing to do, and all of them are cheering him on. I'll triple dog dare you,
Which is such a jerky thing to do,
And then
actually.
everyone bails at the end of like,
And they're like, bye.
The cops are here, scatter.
Recess is over. The bell rang.
I gotta go. The bell rang. But it's just, he survives it with the huge Band-Aid on his tongue.
Oh my God. Him coming into the classroom with the quivering tongue with the piece of gauze wrapped around it and just looking so sad. It is so great.
But, in modern time, the kid would have been taken to the hospital or checked out. It's like, go back to class.
Yeah, just get back in the classroom.
Get back to class. Just get in there with a huge Band-Aid around your tongue.
A little secret about that was a practical effect. There was a suction tube, and that wasn't a real flagpole. That was a special prop that they built.
Genius.
Apparently, they didn't have the suction right on the first take.
Oh, no.
So he did actually get stopped for a little bit.
Oh, God.
And I also saw an interview that Peter Billingsley and one or the other, I think Schwartz said, yeah, everybody got to try it.
Oh, no. Oh, my God. Okay, first of all, the germs. That sounds gross, but that's hilarious.
It did look really real. So it really is.
Come on, guys. Come
And I think, Triple Dog Dare You has become, if you've ever seen the movie.
It is the coup de grace of dares.
You have to follow through if that comes out. And like I said, I feel in some ways the stupidness of it is basically graduated into what we see today with some YouTube videos like friends daring friends to do
dumb
stupid
stuff,
things.
yeah.
It's like, this is not going to go well.
Look, I think you're being a little unfair. It's not their fault. This is just what actually happens in life, and someone put it in a film, and then when video became cheap, it's out there everywhere.
So people just have always done this, John. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, obviously, if they were doing it in the late 30s and 40s, yes, always.
I will also say one of the front runners in movie production. They were the first to do a true product placement. Ovaltine.
Oh, Ovaltine. That was very funny.
Now, first of all, that's another thing we could really relate to, because our parents parents weren't buying fancy Hershey cocoa powder
Or
to make
Quick. What was it? Yeah.
Yeah, or
Quick
Nestle's
was
Quick.
like.
Yeah, or the strawberry Quick. Good Lord.
Oh,
no.
that would have been
Mom
like-
would have never.
So her alternative was Ovaltine, which you were like, I know you're sneaking in
and
vitamins, lady.
That's the thing, is that as you watch this character like go through all of these, and he tells the story, and we listened and we watch him listen to the thing, and then he finally gets the decoder ring. We've all been there. We've gotten the X-ray glasses. We've gotten the special thing from the back of the cereal box that is Bupkis. He got a commercial sent in.
That was
the
very
mail.
funny.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's basically, the disappointment of hype and marketing. So it's done so brilliantly. So
That whole sequence where he's like,
Be sure-
I'm on fire. I was turning the thing, and now it was coming easier.
Feverish
It's like,
pace.
oh, God. It's cut so well. It's really
and you
hilarious.
as the viewer are like, God, what is it going to be? I mean, how? The
You are
Dakota,
just-
little orphan Annie, are you going to be able to save her? And it's like,
Be sure to what? Oh, God.
Well,
she
and
needs me to do something. It's
The
amazing.
Perfect timing pressure of your brother having to go to the bathroom and your mom knocking on the door. I'll be right out for crying out loud.
Come on, Ralphie. Come on, Ralphie. Be sure
to what?
Be sure to. And the way they did it, where all the letters ran together.
Yeah.
So at first you're even like, be
What does
sure
it say?
to drink Ovaltine. And even I was like, freaking Ovaltine.
That's some bullshit.
You'd have to this big of a gimmick to get us to drink Ovaltine.
Which
And
also-
ironically, I do like it now.
Oh, well, that's interesting. I was going to say, it also feels like, so was there a decoded message every week and it was always that? Like, what the F? That is
It was
effed up.
whoever that week's advertiser was got to give those kids a secret ad.
Oh, my God, you might be
Oh,
right.
I think it had to be that for years.
That
Drinking
is
Ovaltine.
hysterical.
Weirdly, when trying to figure out the exact time period and year that this landed, because of some of those things, like the Little Orphan Annie show,
Sure.
and it being past the premiere of
Wizard
The
of
Wizard of
Oz.
Oz, that there was a moment where someone's like, yeah, but you can't nail it specifically because Ovaltine stopped sponsoring Little Orphan Annie before that would have been out. You're like, well,
Probably.
calm down. It won't get that specific.
Whatever.
But
It's fine.
Ovaltine has survived. It still
has.
exists.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, I have some in my cupboard.
Uh-huh.
Slowly went through it over time, but it does need doctoring up.
But why do you have it in your cupboard?
I do kind of like it, and I give it to my kid just like Mom.
Exactly, because you were
Did.
pulling the same trick.
I'm
The
like,
same scam.
straight
Do you
hot
also put
chocolate,
wheat germ
too
on his
decadent.
yogurt? Or
I love wheat germ, but I have not had it in a long time.
it is
Oh,
crunchier and
I
tasty.
do think I need to revisit that.
Yeah, Dad was a big fan of wheat germ.
Well, there's an element of the food.
For any listeners who aren't 40, 50, or 60 years old, wheat germ was apparently the way to get extra gluten in your diet. Just sprinkle a fresh powdered gluten on whatever you're eating for fresh.
A little more
Perfect.
gluten. Well, that's like
tasty.
later in life, I graduated to psyllium husk, which you add to. Well, my sister-in-law Dee Dee said, add it to your drinks or your beverages, and like more psyllium husk would like really clean you out. And I'm like, okay, great. This is before I needed glasses, so I should have read the label correctly.
Oh, no.
Now I was having it, and it is doing what it's advertised to do, but it can kind of make you gassy.
Uh-oh.
And I literally was lying on the bed with Mark, and sorry, people that are offended, passed gas to the point where I thought I cracked my back, like lower C3, I'm disabled. It was the hardest body racketing, like I was like, ah!
You had a chiropractic event.
I'm like, I can't do the psyllium husk anymore. I can't do it. It's killing me. So I tell Dee that like a week later, and she goes,
Well, how would you use it?
And I go, 1 tablespoon. She goes, 1 tablespoon? It's 1 teaspoon.
I was 10xing it. No wonder.
I'm still cleaned out to this day from psyllium husk, but I may revisit wheat germ. So
Wheat germ is pretty good. And
okay, so back, what I said, I said, oh, fudge. Which I, as a kid watching that, I was young enough to watch it the first time when the classic oh, fudge. So Ralphie's, after they go and get the Christmas tree, and this is very typical of our family too, boy, the car has problems. It's going to break down. There's some issue with it. So the car breaks down and they pull over, and the dad is a speed demon at being able to replace
the tire.
The tire. And the mom goes, go help your dad. Why don't you go help him for the first time? And he is so excited to help his father. And the dad has a look of wary, like, oh, you're going to help me? Okay.
I don't need it, but okay.
Oh, yeah. All right. You're going to assist me. All right. Okay. Now, it goes wrong. Like we said, we're not trying to give a million spoiler alerts for those of you. Shockingly, if you have not watched this, This is
Get
why
on
we're
it,
doing
yeah.
huge fans.
And or you forgot about it because you're like, I don't need that. But now you have a kid and you're like, actually, that's a great one. I would still enjoy that, and I'm going to make my kid watch it.
That's what we did with our son, and I think he was about 10 when he watched the first time. And some of the humor, no, he did not get, but it's one of those things he watches, and even, like I said, you catch new things, you see insight into different characters' perspectives. But, Ralphie, let's just say there's a little bit of a
Kerfuffle,
yeah.
a mess up.
And his reaction is to say, "Oh, fudge!" Except
Only he doesn't say fudge.
fudge wasn't the word he said.
Although they don't have it in the movie, which is nice because they have no swear words in this movie.
it's
No
a
real
super-
swear
it's
words.
a super over PG movie, even though there's plenty of stuff to watch as an adult and enjoy. But as a kid, I don't know how long it was for me that I didn't understand he didn't say fudge.
Oh,
I'm like,
really?
You didn't say enough dashes, bro. What are you spelling? I don't get it. Fudge has 5 dashes. I don't know why that's a problem in the 40s, but it is. You're not allowed to talk about sugar because people haven't had sugar since the Great Depression. So people are real angry about that. I don't know why. It's
What?
like I'm trying to make up a
You
story.
think- you think fudge
Why
is a bad
fudge
word?
was still like but I didn't say
Deep
fudge.
layers,
But didn't
no.
you? I don't
What? I
understand.
don't-
But I was just also a very innocent kid, and I wasn't thinking F you blank blank. Meant not-
Yeah, because the running joke is the dad is the connoisseur of bad language.
Which is funny because there is actually no bad language. It's all, or you confirms this right. You're like, none of that is words.
Yeah, it was funny. I was looking at the script, and that was one of the ways I could tell it was like a pre-production script. I was like, it actually has the word "damn it" in there.
Oh, it does not in the
Because
movie.
he's going to change it to,
Consarn it.
Yeah.
No, what does he say?
Dadgummit.
Dadgummit. Like, and I think when I was younger, I didn't get that he was actually saying curse words, but they do infer that he does say curse words.
Yes.
And this is where Ralphie learned it. But I don't know that there's ever a moment in the movie. Except
No,
when
for
he's-
sure. Because Ralphie's
Everything
character,
is through the narrator's filter of no swear words. It's all jumbled. It comes out fudge.
Yeah, well, there is a point where Ralphie absolutely says, I heard it from my dad, but I'm not going to say that
Yeah.
because, I don't want to get in more trouble.
Yeah, I
But
think that's like part of his explanation is like, well, where do you think I learned it, woman? The guy's swearing up a storm every time he goes down to the cellar.
yeah.
And that is, as a child, the first time you curse in front of your parents, you really do think you're going to get killed. I mean, you really, and the parents react accordingly like, oh, God, Ralphie.
I mean, that is a fun reaction.
Do you know what your son just said?
I know.
Like, feel fully
Not
blames
even
it on her.
mine.
Like, I have nothing to do with this.
Oh.
I never swear.
When
I'm
he
the
gets
best.
back in the car and she, just like any mother, wants to act like, oh, this went fine. Okay, Ralphie. Da 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 da
No,
da.
she is a fantastic. She has so many great moments that just you lose through all
Melinda
the rest
Dillon.
of the scene.
Awesome.
He sits back down and having left the car with this idea and the gimmick being the narrator's like, my dad thought he could have been in the pit of the Indy 500 and always thought he was going to be able to do it. And he always had this challenge with my mom. He quotes that he's going to do it in under 4 minutes. And she's like, okay, I'm timing you. He gets back in with the smarmiest shit-eating grin on her face. She's like, 8 minutes. Burn! And he's like, oh, really?
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. You
Not my
think that's
fault.
Well, it
what
took
this
8
is
minutes.
about?
You know what your son did.
It wasn't my fault that it took longer.
I mean,
than
I
normal.
will say that is the other like quintessential kid thing. And now, being a parent, you're like, yeah, involving a kid in any activity, when it's the first time they're trying to do anything, you're like, do I have time to try and teach you how to do this / allow you to be involved in this process? Because there's no way it's going to go great. But,
For what it's worth, I want to put it out there that Ralphie was in the right. Dad was wrong.
about
He wanged the F out of that hubcap full of
the dad did. Yeah.
full of the
Lug
bolts,
nuts.
the lug nuts.
I mean, you felt like they're never going to be found again.
I love
And that was fully
yeah.
his fault. He wanged it himself. Fully out of control, swung his arm
dad's
wide,
fault, yeah.
and it's the dad's fault, and yet so getting hammered for
yeah.
that as the kid. But this does lead us into one of the next scenes. What's up?
No. I mean, why would you be holding it off the ground right behind him? You need space to work.
He positions it directly there. He's holding it too low, and then he says, no, right here, right here. He moves it up into the exact spot. Of course, he's not experienced as a team. It's the first time he's getting his, pit mate out there.
Sure.
And doesn't realize, oh, yeah,
What a
when I lose
disaster.
control of this because it's cold and icy and I'm wearing my gloves, that's exactly where my hand's going to wang. And
Well, for sure. Because I'm sure if he does it by himself, he puts the thing on the ground and puts the lug nuts in the hubcap on the ground. It doesn't,
wild
it's fine.
swinging arms.
But now,
Well, a big other tragedy leads us to what is in the center of our table right now.
The lamp.
And the entire story of sort of, it was such a good character development about the dad that these puzzles and
that he was ambitious.
that he was entering these contests and filling out these, and sending these in sweepstakes and contests.
Which, of course, he couldn't answer the questions. The wife gave him the answer.
Over his shoulder, constantly like, oh, it's that. Oh, yeah.
What's the topic of this one? Great characters of
In
cinema.
literature. Yeah. Oh, I think it was,
It was literature.
And she's like, the nephew's horse's name? What? Oh, I don't think so. Okay.
Tonto's nephew's horse's name.
Everybody knows that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
But then he wins.
Oh.
Fragile.
Well, just the idea, like a major award, like he comes in, he's so
proud.
excited.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching it for the first time. I really was like, what is it going to be?
This could be exciting.
I mean, the delivery guy, I don't know what it is, the huge crate
Humongous, sure.
coming in, fragile. Oh, it must be.
It must be
That's
Italian.
Oh.
Moving on.
Well, yeah.
I wanted to be more special.
Then the
Thanks.
scene with all the packing coming out. I mean, you really
What
are
is
just
it?
like,
It could be anything.
I mean, you watching it, like, what could it be?
According to some of the interviews that I've seen, they didn't tell him what the major award was going to be.
No.
That's a legit reaction.
No, really?
In the moment.
Oh, my God.
There's a couple really great behind the scenes stories that they just didn't tell a character what was going on to get the best moment out of
Wow.
them. So he didn't know it was a lamp. It's fully covered in there. He goes in and it's a lamp. That's because he's finding out that it's a lamp, it's a leg, and then there's a lampshade suddenly.
Oh, that is shocking. Just because, because of course the mom's reaction was like, oh my God. The soft glow of electric sex gleaming from the window. I mean, how Ralphie does his little hand on the leg.
No, he goes up. Which is
that's right.
Even worse, because Liz was just indicating going down the leg.
No,
It was, and the mom is like, oh, please stop. Oh, no.
And in the front window of the house, and you look at it and you're really like, who created this? Why would you think sending it to anybody as a prize is a good idea?
Weirdly, it ties into the Ovaltine gimmick that it's an ad. It's actually supposed to be reminiscent of the knee-high soda logo, like the whatever soda. That's the shape of it, and it's supposed to be a reference to that.
Really?
It fully is.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's pretty risque.
Pretty risque, John. I mean, it was so tacky. Like, I just
for
like,
sure.
I completely understand the mom.
Yeah, well, I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, whoever made this and then tried to sell it and no one bought it was like, oh, you sweepstakes people want to buy these things for 5 cents? Yes, please.
Yeah.
Take it.
Send them out everywhere. Give them away with new bank accounts. We don't care.
Perfect.
Everybody won. But just
The neighbor in the scene where he's standing outside the house is the director, Bob Clark.
Oh.
He didn't have someone for that scene, and then he realized, he's going to need to play off someone. I'm going to go out and be the neighbor in that moment.
The major award
What,
in the
dummy?
window. Oh, wow. Oh, my God, that's so funny.
All the neighbors come out, and he's like, you guys see that? It's a major award.
now, and like I said, it leads to one of those moments in the movie where, listen, you see adult disappointment as well. Like, the dad is so proud of himself for winning this award, puts it in the front of the window. And even when they go out, it's like, no, make sure the lamp's on. She like turns it off, like, no one, let's not leave the lamp on. But, somehow or another, it shockingly, well, I don't know if we want to blow this if you haven't seen it. An accident happens.
Turning the lamp off as they go get the Christmas tree. Well, I didn't want to waste the energy. And every other light in the entire house is on. It's like, okay, we get where this is going.
Let's just say an accident happens that's heartbreaking in some ways, but understandable because, good God, I mean, that is the front store window beacon into your house was not what you'd want for the rest of your life. But, he plays his disappointment, the actor, Darren Mcgavin, so beautifully, where it really is.
You used up all the glue on purpose.
Yeah, his devastation is just, and, as an adult, there are maybe not that many joyous moments in that time. So that he had this and it got taken away from him.
Major
you
award.
feel it.
Yeah.
You definitely you feel bad for him. So it's just like I said, they did a good balance of everybody having their moments, and Randy and the mom's dynamic was so sweet. Especially,
my gosh.
The issue of food, Randy never eating anything, and like, you know, we still quote like, my mother has not had a hot meal, and like, you know, and that is all that rings true. But the meals she'd put down just looked like big slops of mashed potatoes and sort of a meatloaf, peas. I mean, like, what the hell, Randy?
Oh God,
Little piggy eat, little piggy eat.
I did hear something very funny, or watched it in a little compilation video. That scene where he is finishing the little orphan Annie thing in the bathroom, and Randy needs to get in and go to the bathroom. The end of that scene where Randy comes in, flips up the toilet seat lid, and then they cut to a pot of stew on the stove, was supposed to be an indication of like, yeah, she doesn't make great food. I mean, like, that is actually kind of funny what you're saying, because I guess the director was like, I didn't even realize that correlation until like I was watching the movie later. Like, didn't really. I think that's very funny.
Yeah, but like I said, Randy and her dynamic was very fun. I mean, going back to the bully story, the incident happens, and you know, we had this as children. I'm sure most people do, where something's gone down, and it's like, wait till dad gets home, then the shit's really going to hit the fan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And basically, you know, that's the energy. It's like, okay,
yeah, Randy's very worried.
but yeah, as soon as mom tells dad, then Dad's gonna kill Ralphie.
Oh yeah, and he's hiding in the cabinet.
That little cupboard where he's hiding devil, and he just needs a glass of milk, and he just needs to be down there, is the sweetest little thing.
Her reaction is so perfection. Well, do you want a glass of milk? Well, okay. And it's one long take too, that it's just like they let the whole scene play out, and she just like gets a glass of milk, and she's kind of, you're just watching it from behind her, and like Ralphie in this little cabinet, and she gives him the milk. She's like, okay, I'll see you later. Okay. And she like closes it, and it's like, oh my
his
God.
Little office space. He needs some private time. I think the best moment of that entire scene is the dad's reaction later when he's sitting at the table, like ready for, the dinner's ready. Great. And then the child comes out from underneath the sink cabinet and he just kind of has this look like,
what?
I don't know what happens at this house. I don't know. I don't want to ask. I don't want to know. It doesn't matter. Moving on.
I'm sure most parents, you know, whoever the at-home parent is, when the other, you know, mom or dad comes home from work, yeah, there are times like, I don't want to know what the hell happened here during the day. And that's
I don't
what
need
it
to
is.
catch up. Yeah.
And, you know, the narrator, Gene Shepard, really did such a fantastic job of internally dialoguing, like you said, projecting, like looking back. But at the same time, it flowed with it. And maybe that goes to where, you know, them being on set, because Ralphie's reaction and the way it basically intertwined, it never felt like it wasn't part of what you were observing as well, or what you were feeling. So it just flowed so naturally. It never really took you out of it, which that is hard for, because, you know, a lot of times, I mean, Catherine and I and all of us are writers, like the old saying is like, show it, don't say it. So a lot of times people think narrating is almost like a cop out, because you're almost giving somebody like a
crutch or
like here's the cliff notes of what the actor might be really thinking. But because this was a reflection back, and it was so on the nose but not intrusive,
well,
it was amazing.
It's great because it's mostly just a reflection of him in those moments, and then the father and the mother are really not reflections. They're not cartoons. They're the real people in those moments. So I just rewatched the entire movie to get ready for this, and I was trying to pay attention to not Peter Billingsley as much as I could, because he's the focus and you're paying attention to his reactions. So I caught myself watching the mom a lot, and she's like the referee of this entire situation between the dad and the son, basically having the same personality and being in conflict between, you know, being under 4 feet tall and being not having your professional career be what you want it to be. Like, maybe he wanted to be a football coach. That's why he's talking about the football teams the entire time. And he's definitely not doing that in his real world job.
Whatever that is.
But you see her like fix stuff from the behind the scenes. That moment at the end of, you know, Randy hiding under the sink is because Daddy's going to kill Ralphie because he got in a big fist fight at school.
Yeah.
Not even thinking about other stuff. The mom's picked up the glasses. She doesn't even remember to give them back to him until the dad's sitting at the dining room table like, where are your glasses? And she's like, oh, you left these by the radio. She's solving stuff and covering for them. And Then immediately with the introduction, that moment of like, well, Ralphie got in a fight at school today. What? She's gonna? Oh, we're going for it.
And then instant misdirect.
Misdirect with sports stuff.
Yeah.
Because she knows how to run.
change.
She knows how to run that family. So
Well,
it's really enjoyable to watch that.
And also, I think most people can, and we've talked about this on our other podcast, Family Dynamics, moms can be diffusers because like they really want to deal with a bomb at the end of their day too
sure.
with dad. So it's like, no, not really. But that is, like I said, watching how the narrator would help you navigate those scenes. Like going back to the fudge, we were saying like, did he basically learn it from his father? And it's like, one of the quotes is like, in the heat of the battle, my father wove a tapestry of obscenities that as far as we know is still hanging in space over Lake Michigan. I mean, like, so for sure, there are things you learn from your parents, but your parents don't want to take credit for it. Like Ethan will say that because Mark doesn't really curse. I definitely in the family am more of the cursor. So Ethan's always like, I learned all my bad words he used to say from my friend Lainey, and now it's me. So it's like, kids are observing you at all times. So, then you really get to, throughout the movie, is he going to get the Christmas gift that he is pining for, wishing for, scheming for? You get to basically, of course, Christmas morning comes and he's tried all the angles. I mean, that scene at Higbee's, the department store, you'll shut your eye out, kid. And the elves with
those elves
the
were,
costuming was ingenious, with their weird
the thing
little,
right in the middle.
Oh my God,
right
it's
in the
so
middle of their
odd.
forehead, just like with a little ball or a
little jingle bell.
A jingle bell.
Ding, 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 ding. So he's
Help keep them focused on making toys.
Yep. He's tried every angle. We as the viewer do not think his Christmas wish is going to come true. Like,
Wait,
how
just can I say one more thing about those elves? The physicality of the
Yes.
way that they were both walking and moving, particularly the woman who was coming up and down the stairs, was comic genius.
Bum, bum, bum,
just like a
bum.
weird, like, what are you doing? It's amazing.
Are those
and then,
actually just the store suits that you have to wear every year, and they're not your size, and they're
hilarious.
They're chafing?
Well,
okay,
no,
that
it's
makes sense.
also, they do such a good job of like, they are exasperated.
Oh.
Okay.
And it's the
wet
machine
pants.
moving
Yeah.
the kids through the machine. You got to pick them up, and you put them down, and spin them around, turn them, face them.
That's what I was going to say. It's the mechanicalness of like all of these steps that they're like up, down, over, turn, and they're
you're
just
like,
very
What
disgruntled
time
about
of
the whole
night is
thing.
this? They're
Look
about to
like-
close the store. You're like,
And
It's like a
"Ugh."
cuckoo clock of action,
Right,
To get
and there's
the kids through. Yeah.
There's a line right in the beginning of that scene where one of them is like, "If they think I'm working 1 minute past 9 o'clock, forget
So
it."
these are like Ralphie and Randy get in line like 8:57.
Oh,
You're like,
it's hilarious.
you jerks. So it's definitely like you feel the like, that's another element of like holidays can really be stressful. They can be very exhausting.
It's also the very last minute vibe of our family going
yeah.
into like, they got the Christmas tree the night before. They got the presents the day before. They saw Santa 2 days before. What were you waiting on?
Well, that's kind of what happens when you have 8 children. But, so Christmas morning is now here. I mean, you also have no idea what Randy wants. I mean, that's
A Zeppelin, yay! You're like, what? Oh,
A
okay. I don't know.
But at the same time, it's like,
He is falling asleep holding the Zeppelin
Oh,
later, so
he's
you do
so
really feel like he
sweet.
liked that.
I want to point out the parents in the morning. That is exactly right. That whole like, we're in our bathrobes, we're kind of annoyed. We're
the sweater that the dad puts over his pajamas
Oh,
is
yeah.
so our father.
Yeah.
Like,
Uh-huh.
all right.
There's a moment that as a kid, you just, you're not paying attention to what's happening with the adults for the most part. And there's some conversations where I'm watching this now as very adult, and I'm like, they're drinking wine.
Yeah.
It is the
It is.
morning.
That
What
is
is this
hilarious.
aperitif you're having? I
It's
love
like
it.
10 o'clock, maybe.
And
Yeah.
there's like 3 trays of like candies and desserts that they've
Day
had
off,
in the
man.
morning.
They're
I
just
get it.
chilling
I
out. They're
love
like, we made it. We made it to the finish line.
Yeah.
Christmas is now almost over.
Relax.
Whoosh.
Not jumping ahead too much, but the frenzy of opening up gifts. And, Ralphie doesn't appear to have gotten his dream gift. Mm-hmm. And you as a viewer are still, on the ride and enjoying it and going, wow, I mean, this is still, they turned it around and it looks like a pretty magical Christmas and everybody's relaxed and enjoying it. So great. But then of course,
You do also have the really terrible gift of the bunny suit.
Pink Bunny.
That, and I also love when the 2 brothers unwrap the socks and are both like, wait, what? Ugh, who
Socks.
cares? And chuck them. Like, that's a great.
There's a couple good interviews from Peter Billingsley about the pink bunny suit. He's a 13-year-old boy. Like there's no qualms
From
about it.
Aunt Claire.
He
Oh.
did not enjoy that
like,
scene,
"Can
and
I
there
take
is
this
a
off?" Yeah.
full cast and crew watching him, and he's like,
no.
"Nah, this is not cool.
This is
playing
bad.
This. Let's do the scene now. Let's get it over with."
Sometimes he doesn't have to act. He's just like, no, I'm just legitimately not happy about being in this bunny suit.
Aunt Claire labored under the delusion that I was not only 4 years old, but also a girl.
Yeah.
Oh, you look adorable, Ralphie.
I feel like that's unclassified as to whose side that aunt falls on, but
Yeah.
the mother's love of the aunt and the present and the like support
like
of
her
it 100%
sister. Yeah.
feels like her sister. You look like a deranged Easter bunny.
Yeah. He's not playing around. I don't think it's his
No.
sister.
He looks like a pink nightmare. Yeah. It's like, oh my God.
Darren improvised those lines.
What? No.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well,
good for
genius.
him.
So, Ralphie seemed satisfied, but as the viewer, like I said, didn't get the dream gift. And that's what was so sweet about the moment that it's revealed that the dad was paying attention.
Yeah.
Because throughout the movie, he does not seem like he's really paying attention to his
That's
kids.
what I feel like is so appropriate of it's a kid's memory that the kid did not pick up that the dad actually absolutely knew he wanted that gun.
Yeah.
And was going to get it.
His
for him.
BB rifle?
Yeah, he didn't.
He was playing the long game on the kid, and the kid appropriately never caught.
Yeah, he never
that
noticed.
The dad is like, "All right, wife, let's both sign on for this." He asks you, you say you'll shoot your eye out. He asks me, you shoot your eye out. And also tell his teacher, really mess with his brain. And then I'm totally going to get it when we go to Higbee's and hide it in my jacket on the way back.
Well, the mom obviously didn't know, too. That was interesting.
And I think that it's just one of those things that you go, okay, so the dad's paying attention, got him this gift, and the dad is so excited by it.
It's so cute.
And you as a parent, there are things that you do for your kid that, yes, may not be the safest, wisest choices sometimes, because you're either living vicariously through them or you kind of, there's just moments you like want to provide that joy, whatever level it is. And so it's pretty awesome that the dad did this. Mm-hmm. And so, Ralphie and the pajama sets were so awesome. Like matching full pajama sets. But it is winter. So it's actually really cold in Indiana where, they're supposed to be living. So these pajamas are just like, they're so awesome. They're so classic, like full on sets. So, he gets this prize possession. What is the first thing before breakfast? It's like, and you're right, the parents are drinking wine and the famous turkey is being basted in the oven. And when I think, because we were not the family that did like a Christmas, which I think is a lunch if you're having it like 1 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't think they were having this dinner, like a 6 o'clock dinner.
Right.
What time did the mother wake up? The turkey's already in the oven and basting.
I know, and it already looked pretty done.
God,
I
it looked
don't
exhausting.
understand.
I don't know. That math didn't add up, but we're going to let that slide.
She says something about like, it has a whole nother hour. I'm like, God, it looks done already.
No, because
when
the
did you
dad
put it
wanted
in?
to start picking stuff off.
Yeah.
It's like it's raw. She's like,
you're going to get worms.
yeah. So he lets it stay in the oven, and but she has to take it out to baste it. So there's a lot of activity this Christmas morning, and Ralphie then gets to take his, BB gun, and go outside and play with it for the first time. So, I mean, now Ralphie's outside playing with his prize, Christmas present, the BB gun. Like, he cannot believe he got it. And like, you as a fan, a viewer, are so excited for him. It's like, God, it actually happened. He actually got it. Unlike my Barbie.
Yeah, congratulations.
My Barbie makeup head. So yeah, congratulations. Like, every kid's fan is like, wow, your scheming, conniving, your wishing, your hoping, your praying actually paid off. That doesn't typically happen. Like, wow. So he goes outside in his pajamas, in his little, we never had them in California. Like, what are those like snow boots called?
Galoshes.
Galoshes.
Oh, I think she does say, your galoshes and your jacket. It's cold out there.
But he's got to go
Runs out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's very back east type of vibe, backyards or, middle America where like, they're just like right on top of each other. Like, it's like all the houses, like basically the gates or the fences in between, like almost don't exist. So he goes outside in the snow with his glasses on, and he
aims poorly and shoots a giant metal thing in their backyard, which of course ricochets, you idiot. You're shooting a metal BB at it, and shoots his eye out.
So I mean, and you really, and then the narrators of his shock, like, I actually shot my eye out. Oh my God, I shot my eye out.
Where are my glasses?
You're all right.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You're just like, you then, the fear of like the amount of trouble he is going to be in. You're like, Christmas is ruined. I mean, like, you just have no idea how this is going to pan out. Like, what is he going to do? And then he does the whole thing. Oh my gosh.
An icicle.
An icicle.
Like,
Feverishly, I came up with a story right there.
so good. And that's one of those things as a parent, you're sort of like, I don't know if the mom bought it, but once again, it's Christmas, and so you're probably just gonna let it roll.
well, and theoretically, it's his recollection of it. So, of course, she bought it
Yes.
because from his perspective, it was fine.
Now, in the real world scenario, he's outside in the backyard with his BB gun, and he's left it out there after he's injured himself. And
Right.
run back into the house. You think that he closed the door? I don't think he closed the door.
Oh,
I think
no,
he's
of
the
course.
reason
Yeah.
why
Oh.
the turkey... There's no more turkey.
Oh,
no
no.
turkey soup. No turkey divan. No turkey a la king.
Turkey
Yep,
divan.
the turkey
Okay.
was
That's not actually in there.
on the table to be basted, and one of the very interesting, like we've said, the Bumpus hounds from next door get into the house, and you're probably right. I think it was Ralphie's fault. So wow,
They don't really make that clear, and I think that's on purpose because there's a reason that they got
He
in.
doesn't remember, so it can't be clear.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
also, the mom's not going to throw him under the table, and the dad's like, "We're going out."
Well,
like he's
you jumped
not
ahead a little
solving
bit.
the problem. Yeah.
The hounds come in and
Oh,
basically
man.
destroy Christmas dinner, and that scene, those hounds really ravish that poor little turkey. And the look on the dad's face, just holding that pathetic, one little piece of a wing left, and he just drops it, and it's such a mess. Like, it's such a disaster. It's like, yeah, if we stay here, this will be our entire Christmas night. Just clean this up. So we're going out.
Yeah.
I do have to imagine, and I didn't see any interviews or read any articles about this, but I do have to imagine whoever was in charge of the Bumpus Hounds, the set dogs, their real names, whatever, that was probably a real moment where they just let the dogs go in. There's a turkey on the table, and the dog's like, "What's happening? Where did you get this turkey?" Yeah.
I did see an interview or a little piece of video where they did say that was just like they let the dogs just go in and do whatever. And they were so thrilled when one of them scampers out with the turkey,
Yeah.
grabs it and is like,
Comes
one
back
of the
and is like,
last
"Oh, I
dogs is
forgot."
like, "Oh, just grab the whole thing," and goes out the door. And they were like,
because if
"Oh."
he hadn't, that. Yikes.
I mean, it would have been gross, and no one's going to eat a turkey that's been on the floor and pulled apart by dogs. But
and we
still.
can get to that actually happened. There's been a couple I don't want to say versions of the Christmas Story that have come after, but there was a live version that came out a few years ago, and that similar thing happened where the dogs came in and they're supposed to take the turkey with them, and it wasn't happening, and the actor that played the dad sort of aided turkey out the door because he's like, the dog did not take the turkey. So it's
that was
always an issue.
I think it was Warner Brothers owns the property.
Right.
So a couple years ago, they did a live television version of A Christmas Story, which was really an ambitious and interesting project. Basically, it was on the back lot and it was everything just live, which is crazy to think. And it was pretty good. I mean, it was pretty amazing that they did it.
And here's some really boring detail. Apparently, because you realize, oh, well, it's the MGM Lion. You're like, well, that's not Warner Brothers. Those are different. Well, when Turner Broadcasting bought the pre-86 MGM library and then eventually got bought by Warner Brothers, that's why it's Warner Brothers.
Wow, that's interesting.
Good. Weave through a couple places. So that is then the famous last scene where they're all at a Chinese restaurant on Christmas night.
Okay, so I got two special things to tell you about the last scene in the movie. That's not by Gene Shepard. That's by Bob Clark. Gene didn't know that was going to be the scene, so then he saw it and warmed up to it, and I really got on board with it. But he was not about in the original article. It's go to a restaurant, so they had to make something out of it. They needed a finale. They gave the mother the wrong script. But
What?
they told everyone in the restaurant who was working and both of the kids. So her reaction to a fully cooked duck coming out is because she has other lines in her mind. That's not the way the scene's going. And so she's starting to break and have a moment and really start to laugh. And they 100%, the kids knew that the head was going to be cut off. So her reaction to that, where she's
Oh my gosh.
really loses it, is for real.
So the
Oh,
Peking
wow.
duck scene.
Yes.
Oh,
The other thing I had to say about that scene is I didn't know this until recently. I always attributed it to, I wasn't trying to make that the name of the restaurant. It was just a weird neon sign that wasn't fully functioning. The restaurant is actually a converted bowling alley, and the sign, B-O, with the W missing, Ling, is the name of the restaurant, the Bowling Chinese restaurant.
Oh, wow.
Well, the sense of humor throughout and all those little Easter eggs or things that you miss, or, they can go over your head. Like, you can go back and watch it so many times. And to hear that a lot was borderline improvised or trying to get what the director wanted, which was an organic reaction.
Like authentic moment.
Which that is not typical of that era. So just that they were willing to do that, say burn film to see what would happen. That is why some of them comes off so real. And I mean, the waiters, now today we're like, oh, is that not PC? Okay. But of the time, just so great. And that they're the only people in the restaurant, that the restaurant's even open. Like, what is happening? So, and that, and yet they still had a great Christmas. Like, they turned it around and the dad was happy because, the dad is the typical, like, does dad come home in a good mood or a bad mood? And that's going to dictate the whole house.
Right.
And if the dad's having a good time, like on Christmas night, we're all going to have a good time.
Right.
So that's why you're like, oh, like then they pull back out, the camera pulls back and you see them through the window of the restaurant. And like I said, like, they're the only people in there, but they're having a great time. And Ralphie got his dream gift. You're like, okay, this turned out to be an awesome Christmas, which is typical, especially with big families. Things go wrong. But in the end, it turned out great.
I like the story that I heard from the director, Bob Clark, that he said that he had been in a restaurant around the holidays after the movie had come out, like years later, and started to hear the dialogue from the movie from like a booth nearby.
What?
Then proceeded to hear the entire film acted out by a mother, father, and 2 kids. Then went and talked to the restaurant owner and found out that's their family's thing. They come to this restaurant every year on Christmas Eve, have dinner together, and act out all of the scenes, every
that's
part of the dialogue,
amazing.
the narration, all of that stuff. So it's probably not something he could have anticipated, however much he loved it and however beloved Gene Shepard's stories already were, that this has taken a spot. And one of the weird things from that same interview is that this has found a place in almost everybody's heart. But I made a film, and almost no one who loves it has seen it in the theater. So it was before the 20th anniversary,
okay, got it.
Sometime around the 2003, they were doing an interview, and he's like, "I'm so excited that it's going to be in the theater again, so people can actually go see it the way I meant for them to see it. Big, huge, filling your entire vision with this Christmas scene."
Oh, wow. That's cool.
I'll do, just as we're wrapping up, because we could talk about this forever, but I'm going to do a couple famous quotes from the movie.
Oh, okay.
I like it.
So you'll shoot your eye out.
Sure.
Number one.
Number
this
one.
is from Romper. I'm going to give you guys shout out credit. I triple dog dare you, which, is in most people's vernacular. And like I said, I think it is the root of almost jackass, John.
I wasn't saying it wasn't the root. I'm just saying it's not their fault.
No, true. I can't put my arms down.
Sure.
Only one thing in the world could have dragged me away from the soft glow of electric sex gleaming in the window. I actually said that one before. Oh my God. This is one of my favorites. Meatloaf, Smeatloaf, double beatloaf. I hate meatloaf.
I do not remember that. And I
How do
just
you not
watched
remember
it.
that?
I don't know. I just rewatched it. I don't remember it.
Give me my screwdriver, my plumber's helper, and
I'll
all.
shove it in.
Wow.
I'll
cram it
down.
Oh, is that when Randy's not eating and the
course.
dad?
Okay, wait,
Okay.
And then she says, "Wait, hold on. Let me see if I could figure this out."
Oh, is that the little
Piggy.
piggy? Like, okay.
He looks like a deranged Easter bunny, which you said
Love
is
it.
Darren Mcgavin improving, which is great. In a world you were either a bully, a toady, or one of the nameless rabble of victims.
Yeah, I mean. Mhm.
Oh, it's a great line. And this always made me think of our own father. I didn't get a tie this year.
Yeah, that's a great moment.
I mean, because that was our dad. Like, I didn't socks. Like, he didn't. Well, he'd want socks or a new rake.
But
Like,
he's not like
or a
asking
flashlight, yeah.
her or anyone. He's like asking the ether, like, "I thought I bought myself a tie. Where did I? Is it in the tree still? I've lost it."
I definitely got that. Like, I always get a tie, and I can't
Where
believe
is it?
you guys didn't do it this year.
Yeah.
What is going on?
one of the famous. Oh my God. I shot my eye out. Like, this. We're all out of glue. Like, great. Shut up, Ralphie. That's a great one. That I already did it, but I mean, Melinda Dillon is so. Now, she did get nominated, by the way, for an Academy Award Best Supporting for her role in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh, really?
So, very accomplished actress, but Mommy's a little piggy.
Yeah.
Like, that is. Oh, it's a great line. And this goes to where Ralphie has used the bad word, blames his friend, and that's such a great. And then he gets soap put in his mouth with the light hint of pecan.
Yeah.
So he goes,
Pecan flavor.
and this is
of a life boy.
Yeah.
But ivory or whatever the other one was. Yeah. Did you know one little tidbit fact about that soap was wax?
oh, they didn't subject poor Ralphie to it.
The actor had previously experienced the way you deal with kids who are swearing in the 70s. You put soap in their mouth, so he pulled his sense memory up.
Ugh. I got soap put in my mouth.
yeah.
And I remember thinking, this isn't that bad. Like, I thought my punishment would be worse. But then you just had to act like it was really
Yeah,
bad.
you
Oh,
gotta
this is
hand it
horrible.
up.
Oh, gosh, Mom. I did like Dove. So this is adults.
creamy and
Yeah, now in today's time, where you're like, oh, the honey, lavender. Gosh, it's like practically ice
basically
cream.
food, yeah.
okay. And goes to this great line. This is done by the narrator, Gene Shepard. Adults love to say things like that, but kids knew better. We knew darn well it was always better not to get caught. Like,
we got away with it.
The Bumpus Hounds hate everyone but my dad, which was very funny how much they loved him. It was so poisoning.
Poisoning.
And why he was blind. And that's a great
Oh, no.
flashback.
The parents acting in that is so great when he basically has like a revenge fantasy that like he's going to come back and they're going to be so upset and feel bad that they
much
poisoned
further
him.
in the future,
Yeah.
he's still the exact same height.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the great lines. Another quote. Over the years, I got to be quite a connoisseur of soap.
Yeah. Oh, so Ralphie, you messed up a bunch? Is that what we're saying? Okay.
Yeah. And so some men are Baptists, other Catholics, and my father was an Oldsmobile man.
Yeah.
And that son of a bitch would freeze up in the middle of summer on the equator. So, I mean, there's just so many lines. It was so well written. It was written by Gene Shepard, so he was part of it, Bob Clark, and then Lee Brown. So 3 people, but probably Gene was put in because it was original based off all of his work. But just so good. I mean, you read back and all these lines, and they probably maybe were taken right from, we plunge into the cornucopia quivering with desire and ecstasy of unbridled avarice. Wow.
Yeah.
I
So that feels like the actual short story material.
Right.
And this rings true probably to anybody that has a big family, but for sure even kids today. Every family has a kid that won't eat. My little brother had not eaten voluntarily in over 3 years.
Yeah.
Voluntarily is the key element of that sentence where you're like, wait, what does that mean?
Are you just being a pain in the ass?
How does he eat then? What are you trying to say?
Yes. And really we'll give one of the most famous ones that I think a lot of, if you don't know the reference, it's like most of us will refer to it and you've been waiting for it. Fragile. It must be Italian. I mean, just like, I don't know if I pronounce fragile without thinking in my mind.
Oh, for sure.
Like, if I don't say it, I'm thinking it, which is, it's a major award. So, I mean, there are lines, like I said, that can play in your life throughout. And if you've seen it as many times as we have, I mean, you'll shoot your eye out. We'll go down in history of one of the great lines, and that it actually happens is just so brilliant. So,
and weirdly enough, of all of Gene Shepard's stories that he admits are sometimes not all him, sometimes there are other elements that he's pulled into his mind to create that entire story. He actually did get a BB gun and had somewhat of a similar experience of an accident immediately after getting it.
Oh no.
I did forget, some of this is pulled from one of his other books of short stories, Wanda Hickey's Night of Golden Memories and Other Disasters.
That's a great name.
That's an insane name.
I know,
What are
but
you
I
talking
love
about?
it. I love it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
And we'll just, say what's happened. I mean, we really just focused on the original.
Correct.
Which we truly love. But I don't know if you know this. There was Christmas Story 2.
Christmas Story 2 in
Which-
2012.
I have something to say before A Christmas Story 2. There was a sequel made 10 years later in 1993. Because MGM, and this is Bob Clark saying, MGM said, we're not making a sequel because we love the first movie. We're making a sequel because the first movie made money.
Well, yeah, that's a classic reason for making a sequel.
And that sequel originally was titled It Runs in the Family, which feels very Gene Shepard-y titled, and then got changed to My Summer Story, which kind of fits along with A Christmas Story. but failed flatly, and no one knows about it and got released on VHS like a year later.
I have never even heard of it.
But A Christmas Story 2, which is what you were just talking about, I watched today before we
But
came.
wait, go back to
for it,
Summer
yeah.
Story. That didn't star any of the same actors, did it?
No.
And neither did Christmas Story 2.
No, and it was
Their
real
agents
challenging
or
to watch.
themselves had a good... I mean, I only watched the trailer because I did not know about Christmas Story 2, which was released in 2012. Everybody involved should have known better. Just by the trailer alone, I was like, oh, hell no.
Really, really should have. And unfortunately, they tried so hard to have all of the same vibes and energy and elements, and they just missed all of them.
Yeah.
Just a bad-
Sometimes it's hard when
was
you've
like,
really nailed it.
Oh,
yeah.
cheesy version of all of these
Aw.
things. And interestingly, what's happened, there's all these spin-offs or sequels or other things. There's been television specials that have also been made. And interestingly, this one does tie to the original. It's set in the same time period.
Right.
He's a teenager a couple years later trying to get his driver's license, and I don't care about that at all.
The Christmas Story 2 in
Christmas Story 2
2012?
is
okay.
Ralphie, like 8 years later, same group of guys, still hanging out, still trying to do stuff together, doing everything in the town exactly the same, and really didn't have the same magic.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
not huge fans of that. So
No.
There's also 4 other TV movies apparently in the
4 other TV movies? What?
Gene wrote a
Ralph-
lot.
the Parker Family Saga,
Yeah.
The Phantom of the Open Hearth, The Great American 4th of July and Other Disasters, The Star-Crossed Romance of Josephine Krasnowski, or however you say that,
Okay.
and Ollie Hopnoodle's Haven of Bliss.
Wow. Okay. This is.
But none of them captured the magic of the first,
No,
I'm
for
assuming.
sure.
And
'Cause
none of them had the cast, and none of them were at Christmas.
So then really the next thing that I do think caught people's attention and was a good, version of or homage to was that live music
one, yeah.
With Maya Rudolph played the mother. And, they really tried to recreate what would be the family set, but you also really knew it was a live action musical. So the way they did it was very unique and engaging.
Wait, was it a musical? I can't remember now. Did they sing?
That's what was unique about it, because talking about, paying tribute to the original, there was a Broadway musical.
Oh
which
my gosh,
somehow or another,
okay.
I never saw it. Like that,
Which you're very Broadway. I'm surprised. Yeah.
But it just seems like something I would have wanted to see because it's so beloved. And, I just, I
oh
think
my
I
gosh,
want to see it.
now
I want to see it.
Yeah, now
So
I
this
am
was-
remembering that they did sing.
Yeah, so this was Christmas Story live in 2017.
Right.
And Maya Rudolph, Anna Gastar, and then he's Greek, so his last name is like Chris Damanopoulos. You would know who he is because you love him from Silicon Valley.
Yeah, he was like the billionaire.
The three
What was
commas.
the 3
Club.
commas?
Right.
Trace Coma.
Trace commas.
that was the
right.
tequila.
And it was narrated by Matthew Broderick.
Oh gosh, that's right.
And there's a lot of great actors in it. So yes, it was singing because it was based off the Broadway musical.
Right. I had forgotten
And
that
I
element.
was very scared for them because, like I said, not only do you have like live action singing, what have you done to the Christmas Story? But it actually was really
it was
enjoyable.
pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, and I like I said, there's the great scene with the hounds coming in to take the turkey, and the actor, because it's live, is like, oh my god, they didn't take the turkey, and he did something to physically like get the turkey
out of the shot or out of the scene. Or,
very good little like improv in the moment. So then, most recently, this year, 2022, starring Peter
Billingsley,
Yep. Is The Christmas Story Christmas.
Yeah.
And it's on HBO Max. We all watched it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you watched it, John.
Yeah, I watched it. I was just going to say, we do get the other younger characters are the same actors.
Yeah, all grown
yeah.
up.
Yeah, so his 2 friends, his brother, the bully, and his sidekick.
Yep.
Well, and one of the kind of interesting side notes is Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn have always been huge fans of this movie. So they will put Peter Billingsley.
They're very good friends with him. Yeah.
they
They had a
will.
production company together, Wild Wild West Productions, and that's actually who made this.
Yeah. And so they would put him in things over the years, and you're like, what the? And then they developed a production company, and Vince Vaughn is one of the producers of this Christmas Story Christmas, and Peter Billingsley is Ralphie. And I will say, just seeing that face again, like, well, there's Ralphie.
Yeah.
Like, that's so crazy. And it's a story about wanting to have a perfect Christmas.
And everything going wrong.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yes, exactly. And
Well, also, it completely disregards all other properties ever developed off of Gene Shepard. It's just like, nope, this is the only other thing that's ever happened.
Well,
It's
yeah,
me and this new movie.
It feels like it's supposed to be a direct link
Yeah.
with nothing else in between to the original, which, sure.
which I understand why they made that choice, because you want to see where Ralphie is today.
For sure.
And that's basically what we're doing. So what was awesome is they brought back a lot of the OGs. You know, there's Flick is in there, Officer Scott, which, you know, they have a unique spelling for his name. It's
Yeah, Scott Farkas, but the Scott is not what you'd expect.
Scut. You're like, okay, Schwartz comes back. They're Schwartz and Flick's dynamic, actually, I really enjoyed, and I thought they were pretty good, because let's just say nothing is as good as the original, and that's why we're doing the Huge Fans episode, really just focusing on the
OG.
the OG original Christmas Story from 1983, because it really is basically a perfect movie, and it's held up for decades, and I think it will continue to do so. I don't know that this next one is really going to become a Christmas classic. It has some issues, but, you know, was it someone enjoyable to watch? Yeah, and it had its moments of like, oh, that's fun.
Well, it was particularly satisfying in the nostalgia link to the first one. So
Right.
you're like,
I feel
oh,
like
okay. Yeah.
A Christmas Story is an annual viewing, if not multiple times in the Christmas season. Whereas A Christmas Story Christmas, you may just find yourself watching it on Christmas Eve, having had a whole season of A Christmas Story, like one cherry on the top. Just watch that once.
Yeah. I felt like it was worth watching. I enjoyed it. I mean, but for sure, it's because I love the Christmas Story so much.
And it takes place 33 years later, well, where Ralphie is grown up, an adult, and facing all the issues that every adult feels around the Christmas time.
Right. So set in the 70s, which is kind of fun.
I actually thought the set design, the costuming, the kid actors were freaking great. At first, Mark goes, wait, because the Mrs. Parker, the mom, is now played by Julie Haggerty.
Right.
And Mark was like, wait, is that the same mom? I go, nope.
No.
Because Melinda Dillon is still alive, God bless her, but is retired from acting. So did not come back. And she would have been in her 80s, so maybe just wasn't up for this
I
revival.
only had one thought as I was watching that. I'm like, well, no spoilers, but if you couldn't have Darren back and you couldn't have the mom back, maybe that should have been the unknown aunt. And then she just has a whole different vibe the entire movie.
Aunt Claire.
And she's like constantly trying to give him a new jacket, give him a new shirt, put him in some socks,
Something, yeah.
give him a tie. Something irritating the entire time would have been enjoyable.
Yeah,
Oh, well.
it's funny because when you watch this new one, you're like, I'm not sure what I wanted it to be, but this is not exactly it. But I still was like, okay,
And
that's
they
what you
did-
figured out to do. Okay, that
Yeah.
was not terrible. It was not perfection where you're like, thank God, this is exactly what I wanted.
Right.
But I also don't know exactly what I wanted. So I was like, well,
And
all
they
right.
did the narrator, but the narrator was Peter Billingsley himself. It was more reflecting or reacting in real time, where the original is looking back.
Yeah, straight
nostalgically.
nostalgia quality.
So that was a lot.
It was not quite the
There were just
same.
moments like, wait, what is happening here? Okay. But it was like visiting old friends.
Yeah.
And it felt like almost like a reunion. And I think they did a great job. Like I said, yes, bring back Flick and Schwartz. I want to see those two. And
Yeah.
I'm really glad that Randy was in it.
Yeah.
In his like 2 scenes that he was in.
Yeah,
with his
yeah,
single outfit. Yeah.
And it was funny because when you first saw the face, you're like, wait, is that? It is
It
him.
is him. Yeah.
So, like I said, I think for heartwarming reasons, it was like visiting old friends, the set design, the old house. I mean, they were just the Bumpus hounds are living again. So
I liked the more expanded idea of what was going on next door because I didn't really understand.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, oh, the hillbilly,
junkyard
like the
situation.
junkyard. Yes.
does anybody know what that kid was eating when he answered the door? Because it reminded me of our old neighbor Giselle. He would knock on her
Show
door
up with a stick of butter.
she'd be eating a stick of butter. And you're
it
like,
did
what
look
the hell
like
are you
a
eating?
giant lump of cheese. I was like,
Yeah.
what is that?
I thought it was a big thing, cornbread.
I thought
Ooh,
so
it
too,
could
but
have
I couldn't
been.
tell.
But isn't cornbread too crumbly?
I
Like,
don't
you
know.
can't just hold a
Oh.
giant thing of cornbread.
And my husband and I, Mark and I, did laugh out loud when they did sort of a modern day flashback with Scott and Grover, his sidekick, almost reenacting the
Yeah,
bully
that was
hitting
great.
on the shoulder. And I'm like, oh my God, it's him.
Yeah.
So those were the moments I loved.
Actually, that was almost like a really sweet moment in the entire franchise and series history, because that particular actor's had a couple lawsuits where they've like used his face without his permission after the movie, and he has not like made a career out of it. So I was really happy to see that he actually got like
Got a little
sweet spot,
homage.
got his rollback, and like got
nice.
And talk about a sweet spot or coming full circle. The Ralphie meeting up with his bully, his nemesis.
That was a great turn on the story. I
Yeah.
thought.
I totally didn't realize that actor was Scud Farkus.
Yeah.
from
Scud.
this movie. I've seen him in plenty of stuff, and then saw him in this. I'm like, I didn't realize. This is great. I love that you're getting back together.
Oh my gosh,
and,
I've
like,
been saying
figuring this out.
Scott. It's Scott? Scott. Like,
I
who's
say
the-
Scott. I've never,
Okay.
until I
With the
saw
last-
it written,
with the last
I always
name.
was hearing
He
Scott.
has
Like
continued
Farkus,
to
you
work.
could believe that they're spelling stuff weird.
Farkus.
Scud.
Well, he has continued to work as an actor, and I remember seeing him in the series Titus.
Oh,
I
sure.
think he played Titus's brother or something like that, and he was great.
Yeah.
So he's just one of those guys that just has kept at it. But you'll always be known as Farkus with that like beaver cap on your head, whatever the hell that was. With the
I do have to
braces.
say,
so great.
his teeth are real nice. So
Yeah.
that worked out.
He grew into an attractive guy. So really,
His braces worked out.
his
Inappropriately
his time
aged.
inappropriate braces worked out.
But like I said, visiting old friends, felt nostalgic. HBO Max, add to your Christmas watching list.
Yeah, so that's what I did. I did Christmas Story and then this new Christmas Story. Christmas Story, Christmas Story, Christmas.
Yes.
Back to back. Just straight HBO Max streaming, available now. Yeah.
So we'll circle back now to say, what our episode was about was the original, The Christmas Story from 1983. We want to thank everybody involved, Gene Shepard, Bob Clark, also, the one other screenwriter, Lee Brown. A shout out to all the actors, Melinda, Dillon, Darren McGavin, rest his soul, God love him, Peter Billingsley, a bunch of other actors that we just go like, thank you for really blessing most of our childhood and into adulthood. And it is a Christmas classic for generations. And I think will continue to be that. I think it holds up. And if you have not watched it, treat yourself. And I hope through all like the MGM and then into
Warner Brothers, and
whoever
and-
owns
yeah.
it, please keep
it available.
The 24 hours available on Christmas Eve is really awesome, because throughout Christmas Eve day, I will just turn it on, and no matter the scene, I'm like, oh yeah, great, I'll just watch
Love
the
it.
scene.
On TBS since 2004.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Okay.
TNT has done a marathon since 97, but the Christmas Eve 24 hours since 2004.
Wow.
And if you happen to be in the Tremont neighborhood of Cleveland on the west side and you want to visit the Christmas Story house, you're able to do that. And supposedly they actually made it an entire incredible, like recreated the set design.
Amazing.
I will say one of the things in the new one, when he goes up to the family's attic, I'm like, how have you not better utilized this space? It is like an entire
it's so
floor.
tall. Yeah, it's got like the highest ceilings, that attic. I was like, what? This is an amazing amount of space. Okay,
On
well,
the outside of
yeah.
the house, it doesn't appear that you have a 12-foot attic space on a third floor.
Yeah, I was like, how
But
have you not
I will say
converted this?
I think that was an homage to Peter Billingsley's own mother's house, because his mom supposedly has the original pink bunny outfit in their attic.
Oh, really?
So I
Sure,
think that's like,
funny.
well, he probably just went and shot that at his mom's house. Where is it? It's over here. Get out of here.
Well, all right. So if you don't watch it before Christmas Eve, you can watch it on TBS. It will be on a 24-hour cycle, or you can watch The Christmas Story Christmas on HBO Max. So
Well, Christmas Story is also on HBO Max.
There you go.
It's
Watch
just
both of 'em.
Both of them streaming available.
all right. Well, thank you for listening to Huge Fans. We wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays with your family, even though it can, like this movie, be quite chaotic. And we hope you get your wish fulfilled, whatever it is, this holiday season.
Yeah.
But
so-
don't shoot your eye out.
No. So that'll be it for this episode. But thank you for listening to Huge Fans, and follow us on all of our social media at Huge Fans Podcast. And thank you for listening to Huge Fans.